Welcome to the Dream Achievers podcast, where we focus on business owners and purpose-driven leaders in our local communities. We meet people every day where we shop, eat, and do life, and want to bring their stories to you each and every Wednesday. Now, let's get to this week's guest.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Dream Achievers. This is Andy Young, the Mountain Money Man, and boy, I'm looking outside, it's cold. I got a perfect person to be here right now to make sure that it's warm inside. Got Brian Street with Southwest Virginia Mechanical. Brian, thanks so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. It's hard to get time on these cold days to sit down and do anything but work. But
yeah, I'm grateful, right? Right now you got everybody that's freaking out with the cold coming next week, wanting to make sure that everything's in tip-top shape, or they got units that need to go in. So appreciate you taking the time to be with us.
Oh, you're welcome.
So Brian, When I'm talking to people, a lot of times on these podcasts, I've shared with kind of the person that's they've decided to open a restaurant or what I would think is more of a traditional business with that. But within your industry, a little bit of different ways of getting there when it comes to education and kind of learning. You want to share a little bit as far as with what kind of got you into HVAC, into doing that?
Well, it's a long story. It's been over a lot of stepping stones. At the beginning, I was telling you earlier, my dad wanted me to go to college. He only went to the 8th grade. He felt like that would play a role for me to be successful. I was the only kid, so he was pretty hard on me. And my mom died young, so Dad was a contractor. He built houses, and I rode different school buses to wherever the job site was, at the end of the day after school. And he was teaching me little things, that even if it was just sweeping the floor or whatever. And I hated it at the time, couldn't wait to get off to college. And I was always interested in the trades because I just grew up in it, but right out of school in 2000, I graduated from East Tennessee State University, got a job at Home Depot, working around building materials, window and door specialist. So Dad had some heart attacks, and he called me and he said, if you'll come home and I'll split the business with you and let you make all the decisions. And so that was a young man's dream. I knew I had him to back me, and I did. I moved home. We built houses, garages, remodels, and we had 4 or 5 men that worked for us all the time. But it was hard to keep them busy, in days like today.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided we was going to build some apartment buildings here in Lebanon. And we would go in the fall and frame everything in, get it dried in, and that would keep a warm place to work all winter. So it was a good business. We just fell upon it. We was going to sell the apartment buildings, go on to the next thing. And then once we started doing the math on it, it would, pay for itself pretty quick. So we ended up with 19 apartments. And we continued building some after that up till 2008 when the market got bad. And then you couldn't get men to work, you couldn't get people to buy homes, nobody was spending any money. And my dad was about ready to retire, so he went through another heart attack and had some heart surgeries. I went back to school. He always told me, you need to specialize in something. Don't try to do everything. And I went back to Southwest and took my HVAC classes there. I didn't really have any intentions of opening up a heat pump company. So, at that time, I had 22 heat pumps running year round. And it was the only thing that I couldn't do with my own hands. And if you're in the rental business, then anything you have to hire out, it really takes a toll on you. So went back to school, had to do a little internship to finish that certificate for HVAC. And I went to work for a contractor. I think it was 60 hours we had to do free, But you really don't get that much experience till you get out there in the field, turning wrenches. And I didn't feel like at the end of that internship that I could go back to one of my apartments and work on one of the heat pumps. I was like, well, so they offered me a job when it was over. And I took it. It was a real low pay job. Was really interested in it. It paid the bills, and I had my apartments too to take care of. But I wanted to get that experience to where I was comfortable with taking care of my own stuff. And I stayed there for 5 years, which I got interested in. I was taking my work home at night, and we worked on everything from restaurants to hospitals. It was sink or swim. You either learned how to do it, or they let you sit there till you figured it out. So after 5 years, I always missed working for myself, because I had a job coming out of high school at Food City when I was in Southwest before I transferred, and then right out of college at Home Depot, and that's the only 2 jobs I ever had, besides the contractor that I worked for before I started doing this. So I was comfortable with, being my own boss, and when we first made the leap, I thought it'll just be me. I've got a partner, be me and my partner and a helper going around putting heat pumps in, but it grew so fast. Like, we had 3 employees in 3 months, and we were running 2 install crews right off the jump. This was in October 22 when we started.
So you decide, for a lot of people, that they look at that and they go, I don't like my job. I wish I could go work for myself. How do you look at that, as an entrepreneur, and you look out and you go, you know what, I don't know what income will be there, but I feel like that's better?
Yeah. Well, a lot of it was due to my dad. He always told me that, he said, you'll never get rich carrying a lunchbox for somebody else. And he worked for himself his entire life, a little bit in the mines, but that's how he learned carpentry. And I always carried that with me. And even when I was in college, I was painting houses and doing things in my spare time. And I could make more money in 2 days than I could, in all week working for an employer. So.
Yeah, I kind of learned that years ago when I was in high school, and I worked at Long John Silver's. And I had a neighbor that he had a sawmill. And he would come home from University of Tennessee on Friday, get a load of wood, and when I got out of school on Friday, I'd go to his house, we'd cut, and then I'd go back on Saturday, we'd cut until the pile was gone. I could make more in that day and a half than I could in 2 weeks at the other job. So you kind of learn pretty quick that if you want to hustle it to be able to get something else out of it, that you can. So, you took the leap, you said, hey, we're going to go open this with you and your partner. You had the experience from Dad that you saw that, and it took off quickly with that. What was kind of the biggest challenge for you as far as when you opened the new business? What was that biggest challenge? Just how quickly it grew and scaled, or was it something different?
Well, we didn't expect it to get that big that fast. Like, I knew a lot of the contractors in the area from the building trade, and then my partner, he had the same kind of connections, but we never, it's kind of like everybody's got their own HVAC guy or their own electrician, and starting out's tough, especially the first 2 years. You're just figuring out what to do, But for us, it just came. The phone kept ringing. I actually had a pressure washer. It's a 4,000 psi pressure washer that I used for my apartments. And our first 6 months in, I was having the guys pressure wash houses because I couldn't keep them enough to do.
I'm going to assume that you're not pressure washing still.
No, it's parked. Yeah.
That's just used on the apartments now, not keeping that going. So, I mean, when you do this, you take on the livelihood of other people.
Right.
I know for me as a business owner in years past, when I had employees that worked for me, that it was kind of like you were just putting that backpack on, that you're not only is it your own home, but it's their home too. You're looking at that you're trying to create something unique to where people continue to want to use it. They refer other people to it.
Right.
to be able to support this. When that happens, a lot of times people look for, okay, what benefits am I going to have? What pay rate am I going to be able to support? To be able to run their household. How do you cope with that?
It's a lot. Like a good example is just when we had this big snowstorm. I've got a couple guys that they live week to week, and he needed to work. I was going to give the guys a day off because I didn't want them on the roads, And he was like, "We need to do something. Let us clean the shop out or something." So you have to take that home at night. Keeping them something to do is kind of the important thing.
Yeah. Hey, sorry for the interruption, but I know that you're probably watching this and you're worried about when can you actually afford to retire. Well, good news. We can help you out with that. Find out what it's going to look like for you if you keep walking down your own financial path. Do you have enough money? Are you saving in the right places? Are there anything that you need to watch out for that maybe you're not planning for, like if you get sick or hurt and you can't work? Or what happens if you need long-term health care in retirement? All those things we address in our financial pathway plan. So, if you haven't already, be sure to click the link down below so that we can schedule a time to have a conversation. No cost, no obligation to be able to do anything, simply my way of being able to reach out to you and help with the things that you're worried about because you're a valued listener. Thanks.
To just see their work ethic and what they're going to do with that. Because if that's what they're doing when they're kind of showing up to put their best foot forward, you kind of know, hey, on the back end, if that's as good as I'm going to get, probably not going to be any better with that. So, we're here, we're in Lebanon where you guys are based, but how far out as far as a region do you all cover to service folks?
Well, it's about 100-mile radius. We go to Marion, we go to Whiffle, Rural Retreat occasionally, Bristol, Abingdon a lot, some Johnson City, Van Sant, Tazewell, Honeacre, pretty much 100-mile radius. Some of the places like towards Clintwood and we'll go to Clintwood and Daint, but some places towards Wise County we don't.
Just haven't had the opportunity. A little far out there as far as the support, unless you got multiple other calls in the same area.
Yeah, right.
With that. So if you're looking at that you say, hey, we've grown to this point, 2022, right? You said as far as when we started.
Yeah.
We're now just a couple years removed. Do you have a goal or something that you're working towards that you're saying, hey, for 2025, this is what we want to see?
Oh yeah, yeah. I got a 5-year plan. I've got we started doing generators. Well, actually, we had serviced them for years. People would call and say, "Need my oil changes in my generator." We'd go do that. When the power went off the last time, I had contractor friends that were referring me to do generator installs. And I was like, well, why not? We'll try it. And since the power's been back on, we've put a heat pump in and a generator every day. Now it probably won't last, but it's just more income for your bottom line.
Well, I know for us, we were out 8 days. And we're grateful that we had a generator that was just at least keeping the fridge going.
Right.
Because as everybody else that we were talking to, that they were losing everything in the fridge, freezer. We were able to take family members' stuff, throw it in the fridge and the freezer just to be able to keep. And that's when you don't know when it's coming back on, that's a hard thing to understand.
Yeah.
With that. And granted, we went through a minimal amount compared to other areas. But it's still that inconvenience that everybody likes the convenience of walking in. It's hot or cold. The opposite of what it is that you're doing with that, kind of on a day-to-day. So you cut your teeth on going through. You had the apartments that you guys built. You've grown this business, continuing to grow with that. What is it that keeps you motivated as moving forward? Is it still Dad's words of, hey, you got to do this, you got to be better, you got to do more, or is it something else that drives you forward?
I think you're just born with it, or you're not. Like some people, they like to go to work. I've got guys that work for me. They like to go to work. When they get home, they hang their hat up, and they're worry-free. If I'm awake, I'm working. That's just, if you're in business for yourself, that's how it is. It's 60, 70-hour weeks and all the paperwork that comes with it.
Yeah. Have there been any other important relationships along the way that have helped you grow or help you better yourself?
Yeah, there has. Other HVAC contractors in the area, I've used them at my properties, and they knew me, and I kind of just followed their lead. They would do a little marketing, and so I had a good marketing person, right off the jump. And where I was in the field for 5 years before starting the company, I knew the guys that were looking for a job. I knew what kind of work they done. It's hard to just a brand new person that you've never met before, but somebody that's been in the trades and they're capable. Because if I got to go with them every day, then I don't need them. I need somebody that can go do the job, be professional, go in somebody's home. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
You can ruin your name in a hurry by making a bad impression.
Well, you go in and you make a mess, you leave your work area dirty, you leave their house dirty, something doesn't work right, a line gets clogged, and all of a sudden now they've got a ceiling leak. I'm sure you've seen all kinds of things with that. What would be, do you remember a time where, maybe, and it's not to say that somebody else did it wrong, but do you remember an experience of maybe going into somebody's house where you got to fix it for them?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've seen the way other companies done it. A lot of these fly-by-night companies, I'm not going to name anybody, but they're just trying to sell. They'll come out, they'll look at somebody's heat pump, it'll have a minor repair, and they'll just try to sell them another unit. Our logo was HVAC at a fair price, quality HVAC for a fair wage. And we were, the other contractors in the area, we knew what they charged, and we wanted to be somewhere in the middle. That's a good place to be, because you've always got somebody that'll bid higher, and you're not the bottom either. But we've seen the gap, the need for the gap,
Well, if you can deliver an experience that's better.
Right.
They might be able to go and somebody else is going to charge more, but it's, are you going to get the same thing out of it? And
exactly.
The person that's going to charge less, are you even going to get the job done all the way?
Yeah.
Because if you're looking at it going, there's got to be meat on the bone. All of us know. If I go out to eat, I know it's going to cost more than me fixing it at home.
Right.
Because I got to pay the person that cooked it, the person that served it, and for the building that I'm standing in. All that has to happen. So you know what? I can make a bologna cheese sandwich at home a whole lot cheaper.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to eat a steak out for the cost of that bologna and cheese.
Yeah.
But we've seen that. Unfortunately, there's places that have closed recently just here in town, because if they don't have heating and cooling, and then all of a sudden you're not going to show up and wear your parka while you're sitting there trying to eat and freeze to death.
Right. Yeah, it's very necessary.
You're going to want to have that experience with that. I always look at, the name of it is Dream Achievers, right? That we look at this as far as trying to accomplish something. Everybody's reaching for that. Has there been a certain moment where you've looked back and you've said, yeah, it happened. I made it work.
Yeah, I mean, from the very beginning, it was just, I would tell my wife, I would be like, this is my little dream. And little things kept working out. It might have been the bank on a little loan somewhere, and this was over a year process, and I didn't know if it even would come to be. I was like, well, I'm going to try this, and I went and talked to people in the area that to get advice on how to do it legally. I knew, especially working for other contractors, I knew if I wasn't legal, that they would come after me, and we wanted to be legal.
Yeah.
So it took a while to get everything set up, and I kept telling my wife, I guess my little dream lives on. So.
Well, and it seems to be multiplying. I see more of your trucks out and about with the logo and stuff showing up when you're out and you see the stickers up as far as service by, that it's growing more and more with that. How many folks do you employ at this point?
There's 7 of us altogether.
7. Okay. So that's 7 people in little Southwest Virginia that are out there making a difference and doing that, of helping people out. And it's not something, within your industry, I know that people kind of started off and it might be one person that tries to go out and do that with old van, and they're trying their best to be able to make it by. But you all show up and you look professional.
Yeah, that's a very important thing. Even with our logo is, it's the counties, the star is Lebanon, and these are the counties that we serve.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea behind that was, a lot of companies, it'll be called Ball Heating and Cooling. At the end of the day, if I build this business and somebody wants to buy it, they don't want to use that name, and that's the name that come up.
Mm-hmm.
So my goal is to build a business that I can turn the keys over to somebody and retire one day.
Yeah. Well, in what I'm doing as far as helping people out on the back end, when you're trying to exit a business, it's the smartest way to do it, because you're building equity in the brand versus turning over and saying, well, here's the service contracts. And they say, okay, well, I thought it was street heating and cooling. What's this now? Why does it say Young?
Right.
Well, we sold, oh gosh, well, I like dealing with him. But if it's nothing changes, it's just continues to go on and live up to that experience and then some, it makes it a lot easier. And for you on the back end, your partners that are involved, when they retire as well, that it makes that transition that much easier, that you can have people that come along. Has there been any experience that you've said, you know what, I wish we could go back, if we rewind a little over 2 years ago, you say, man, wish I had a do-over on that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm very much in the field. Like, me and my partner are both owners, but we still do service calls, we still manage installs, we still help with installs. I like getting my hands dirty. I don't like to sit behind a desk, and I think that people appreciate that. If you're just a company, a large company to where they're just sending somebody, it's that personal touch. I think that's why the business grew the way it did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can speak from the short period of time of meeting you to be able to go through that, it makes that easier when you have somebody that you can talk to. Somebody that you don't, you're not feeling like, hey, I don't know anything about this, heat pump. I just know it's not working. And that you have to trust them of saying like, okay, you need to drop 20 grand or, we're good. It's going to be $700. We can fix it. But, probably just buying yourself 2 years.
Right.
So when you have somebody that can honestly go through and say, okay, here's the deal. We can fix it, but it's a Band-Aid fix. Just know that we're probably going to be back out here, but it'll get you through.
Yeah.
Until we can get you on the back end, or if you offer financing or different things to be able to help people with getting what they're trying to get accomplished easier.
Yeah, and we do offer financing. That was something probably first 6 months in, we went ahead and done that. Our vendors, they kind of teach you along the way too to help build your business, and they started saying, well, you need financing. The average person has less than $1,000 in their bank account at any given time, and a heat pump today is from $6,000 to $9,000. And the same with generators, and I knew to do it right in the beginning once we went with them. But I don't want to be limited to just HVAC. I wouldn't care to have an electrical department, a plumbing department. There's so many different ways you can go with it. That's why we're not SWVA Heating and Cooling.
Yeah, I noticed with the mechanical, in the naming, that obviously it keeps it broad, that you can do more.
Yeah, our marketing people don't like it because they're like, you need to put heating and cooling on it, because the way people shop for trades today is through Google, and our name doesn't say heating and cooling. So, but I mean, you're getting your brand name out. Word of mouth is obviously the best. But you've got to use Facebook and all these technologies today to help with that.
So if somebody wants to reach out, if they need to reach you, they got a question on their HVAC system, maybe they want an install, or just they need service, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Probably if they need service, we've got a company line. We've got somebody to answer the phone and dispatch the calls. Me or my partner, one, will take that call and put it where it needs to go. If they're just shopping around, our website's there. You can go on, see the different units, read our reviews. That's one way of doing it. But most of our customers have our personal numbers. Like our cell phones are part of it, Now, the guys that work for me, the company pays for their phones, and they like to turn it off at night. So they keep their personal numbers, to themselves, and I get that.
Yeah. Well, it's good. It's that extra layer of, hey, if I need something, it might just be a quick text.
Right. Yeah.
Of, hey, this happened. Do I need a call? Do I need to put in a ticket? Have somebody come out? Or, it seems to be working good. No, you're fine.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of things come in through the website. There's a contact us page there. We'll get an email, especially if somebody's just wanting a quote, say next spring I'm thinking about changing my unit. They just want to talk to somebody. But yeah, most people call the company line, especially on service, because they want you today, and they won't wait.
Whoever says we'll be out there, that's who's showing up.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, Brian, I appreciate the time to be able to share with that. And if you're looking for somebody that's going to help you out with trying to make sure that everything's in order, or maybe you're just, it's not staying as warm as you thought it was going to stay.
Yeah.
You can reach out to Brian. I'll have the contact information down below, so you can reach out to he or his team and get you taken care of. Brian, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.